Wilde here with Wilde Horsemanship. In today's YouTube video, we are going to be discussing the foundations of Liberty work and a few exercises that you can work on with your horse to get started at Liberty.
A little ponytail girl grown up to be a woman, now she's gone in a blink of an eye. She left the suds in a bucket and her clothes hanging out on the line.
Before we begin, don't forget to check out Wilde Tool Custom Leathers. We are a sponsored rider for them, and they make all kinds of super cool stuff. Mule tape tack, leather tack, they made this belt, they made this tree pouch. And if you use the code WILDCHILD2024 when checking out, you'll get a discount. So, let's get started. This right here is Legend. He is a 4-year-old draft cross, and we're going to be using him to show you some stuff today. One of the first things I want to do is make sure that the horse is comfortable with my equipment. One of the main things I'm going to be using during Liberty work is a whip. I use long whips, short whips, etc., etc. And so I want to make sure that I can throw the whip on and off his back. I'm going to reinforce when he stands politely, do it on the other side, and just make sure that overall he is comfortable with the lunge whip, which he pretty much is. Another thing I want to point out is that when beginning at Liberty, you are welcome to have a halter on. With these guys that I'm going to be working with today, I choose not to have a halter on at all, but that is purely your choice. Sometimes it's easier to start with the halter. You'll see here that Legend took a step forward, and so I applied a little bit of pressure on his chest to ask him to back up, and then proceeded with desensitizing. Once he stood nice, politely, and calmly for a few seconds, then I reinforced. The next exercise I want to work on is following me. And so you'll see here that I'm kind of just backing up and trying to create a little bit of draw, and Legend starts to come up to me and follow me. After a few steps, I'm going to ask him to stop, and I'm going to reinforce. What I want here is I want Legend to feel comfortable enough approaching me, following me as I move, because this is going to be one of the foundation behaviors when it comes to Liberty work. You'll see right about here, I stop and stand and kind of wait for him to start coming up to me. And as he does, I back up to continue creating draw. You'll also see that I start to turn a little bit here. Typically, when you're starting, it's probably best if you break this up into sections because you'll see right here, I kind of do a quick turn and I back up and he's like, wait, what the hell? Am I supposed to follow you? This isn't the first time I've done these exercises with Legend, so this is kind of just like a refresher course. But when it comes to doing this, it's okay to break it down into smaller sections and like have them follow you a few steps and then follow you a few more steps and then eventually start increasing the frequency of like the turn to some of the other stuff that you do here. You'll see that again, Legend starts to pick up on following me, and so I'm going to reinforce that behavior. The goal here is to make working with me fun, pleasurable, and exciting. You'll see right about here that I kind of slow down a little bit until he catches back on and starts following me again, and we start weaving throughout the round pen. But training should be fun, exciting, and pleasurable for both me and the horse. And if he's not having fun, I'm not having fun. And so by making this a very pleasurable, positive experience, by adding reinforcers and just overall things that the horse finds pleasurable, that's going to be the first step in making Legend just as comfortable and having a lot of fun as I am. So you'll see here that now he's kind of caught on to those sharp turns a little bit more. I'm able to stop and turn pretty much real quick, and he's pretty much follows me, which is really good. So he caught on to that really quick. It was a good little refresher to start off with. The next behavior we want to teach is backing up with little to no force. So you'll see here I'm kind of leaning into Legend and I swing that lunge whip a little bit and he takes that step back. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to lean into him. I'm going to wave that lunge whip a little bit and apply a little bit of pressure on his nose until he gives me a step back. Ultimately, my goal here is to lean towards him and he just immediately backs up. I don't want to have to apply a lot of pressure. I don't really want to have to do a lot. I just want him to back up the second I lean forward. So you'll see here, yet again, I'm leaning forward. I apply a little bit of pressure with that whip and he goes back. And I'm just going to continue to repeat this exercise, asking him to back up, and I start with a minimal amount of pressure. All right, so I start leaning towards him. When he doesn't do that, I move to swinging that lunge whip, and then I'm going to move to applying some pressure on his nose to ask him to back up. So always start with the least amount of pressure, and every time he backs up, reinforce. You'll see right about here, I'm able to get Legend to back up not 1 but 2 steps, and I don't have to apply pressure on the nose. I just have to lean in towards him and swing that lunge whip a little bit. With practice and probably over the course of several sessions, Legend will eventually catch on to the fact that when I lean forward, he backs up. It just takes time and patience. The next behavior is staying and coming to me. So my stay here is I'm going to hold that lunge whip a little bit high in the air, and when I want him to come to me, then I'm going to put that lunge whip down. You'll see that Legend doesn't come to me. In fact, he goes the opposite direction. And this is one of the beauties of Liberty work, is that the horse has that freedom of choice. And so if Legend wants to walk off, Legend's welcome to walk off. You know, I want him to want to be with me and want to work with me. And if that means allowing him the choice to walk away, that means allowing him the choice to walk away. You'll see right about here, yet again, I kind of gave him that stay cue and I asked him to come to me, and he's really not coming to me. He's kind of just looking at me like, what the hell are you doing, you crazy lady? Which is okay. And so basically this is a sign that I need to break things down a little bit more. You'll see that I come a little bit closer, give him the come to me cue again, and he's still kind of just looking at me, and eventually he wanders off yet again. I'm not going to get mad at this. I'm not going to get frustrated, because at the end of the day, he's showing me that I'm either not making this session reinforcing enough, he's not understanding what I'm asking, and overall, he's just communicating to me that I need to change things up about how I'm doing them a little more. So right about here, after I gave Legend roughly a 5-minute break, he did finally decide that he was going to come back to me and be involved in the session again. I'm going to remove the lunge whip from the equation and just have my arm in the air as that cue to stay. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drop that arm and ask him to come to me. You might notice that I walked away a little bit less of a distance than I was doing before, just as a way to continue further breaking things down. So you'll see right about here, I'm going to ask him to stay. He kind of starts to follow me a little bit, so I just stop backing up, kind of put pressure on his nose, and then you'll see here, yet again, I'm backing up, and then I lean my hand down and I start kind of patting my legs, trying to encourage him to come to me. And you'll see right about here, he does turn his body around, he comes to me, and so I reinforce that behavior. In fact, I gave him a little bit extra of a reinforcement by loving on his head, giving him lots of scratches, something that Legend loves very much. You'll see this time around, I give Legend the stay cue, and then I ask him to come to me, and he turns his body to me and comes to me a lot quicker than he was doing before. So this is great progress. Here we are doing it again. I back up with my arms in the air, and then I bring my arms down, and Legend comes up to me. The next horse we'll be working with is Filio. He's a 13-year-old BLM Mustang out of Triple B, Nevada. Filio has a lot more experience in the realm of Liberty work. I've been working with him longer than Legend has been alive, so he's going to bring a few more skills to the table that Legend doesn't necessarily have. He is a little bit rusty, but that's okay. We haven't done it in a while, and this is a good opportunity to kind of show you guys. So you'll see right here, I'm asking Filio to follow me. I'm able to back up, and he follows me. The other thing that you might notice is that he actually keeps his head about at my shoulder. With Legend, I kind of had to back up as a way to encourage him to follow me. You'll notice that I don't really have to do that with Filio. I start walking, Filio starts coming, and he keeps his head with me even when I'm not facing him directly. You'll see right about here, I lean my body into Filio, and he backs up with little to no pressure from the lunge whip. Here we are, I have my arm underneath his neck, I'm walking backwards, and he's walking backwards with me, so I reinforce that behavior. Here we are doing it again as I walk towards Filio. Filio's backing up, I'm applying no pressure aside from just my body. Next, we're going to work on the coming when called exercise. Filio tends to do this a lot better than Legend did. You can see right here, I give Filio the cue to come, and he comes with very little hesitation. You'll see again right here, I give my stay cue, I kind of back up a little bit, back up, and he kind of just stands there. This time, as soon as I give him the come cue, he doesn't quite come like immediately. You can see that he's kind of wiping the flies away because they are pretty brutal, and then once he's done, he does come back to me and do the come when called. You'll see this time around, again, I ask him for the stay cue, I kind of go out of camera frame. As soon as I ask him to come, he comes up to me, which is really good. As you begin to progress in your Liberty work and get better at these exercises, you are going to want to start adding energy at some point in time. So for example, you'll see how both Filio and Legend are doing all of these exercises at the walk. Over time, the goal is to eventually have them coming to me at the trot or performing at the trot, doing the same thing at the canter, and so on and so forth. Right now, there's not a lot of energy in it. It's kind of just slow-paced, easy-paced, which I feel, irregardless, is very good for you guys to just see as I'm teaching these exercises and breaking them down for you. The better you get at Liberty work, the deeper your connection with your horse will become, and you'll have something like this with Filio. Filio has the opportunity to literally go and roam these several acres that we live off of, but he's choosing to stay with me because he finds being with me very pleasurable. Even once we enter his pen, he chooses not to go to the hay until I give him one last reinforcer and finish off the session.
A few closing thoughts that I want to discuss about Liberty work. First things first, everyone kind of tends to think that Liberty work is working without the use of ropes and equipment and halters and all this fun stuff, right? Where you can get your horse to dance with you, you can ride your horse without a bridle or saddle or any tack at all, etc., etc. And to an extent, this is kind of true. The thing with Liberty work is it is basically the freedom of choice. So you could be working with a halter, you could be working with a saddle and still be working at Liberty because it is the freedom of choice. Meaning if your horse decides they want to walk away from the session, which we kind of saw with Legend a few times, they're able to do so. If your horse decides that they're not having it or they're just not wanting to do what we're wanting them to do, they can make that decision, right? We are providing our horses that freedom of choice, which is basically what Liberty work is. With that being said, it also helps develop a deeper deeper horse-human connection, right? Because when you don't have ropes, when you don't have equipment, you really have to develop your horsemanship and learn ways to get the horse to want to be with you, to want to work with you when there's nothing there's no strings attached, literally. And so it definitely develops that horse-human connection, because you have to figure out what they find desirable, what they find pleasurable, and add that into the session. It also requires a lot of self-work for the individual, because in the equine industry, we spend so much time knowing that we have to make the horse do what we want. When the horse isn't listening, we have to make them listen. The equine industry tends to be a very control-based area, right? And so as a human who's interested in liberty, you kind of have to start giving up that hope. You have to kind of start giving up that control and working on yourself to allow your horse to say no, to handle when your horse says no a lot better, and just knowing how to manage the emotional side of working with your horse. And finally, liberty work is for all horses, okay? It's not just specific to one breed. It's not just specific to the easy horses. Liberty work can be used for each and every horse that crosses your path. The biggest thing with liberty work is, like I said, it kind of helps you develop that connection with that horse, and so it's a great way to do that, but it's also a great way to kind of help horses, whether they've been traumatized or not traumatized, kind of get a new spin on life, right? You're stepping away from traditional methods and trying something new, which can be extremely beneficial for horses who have struggled with aggression or have struggled with abuse at some point in their lives. They start to see a different side of humanity. They don't just see the side that like beats them or, forces them to do stuff when they're uncomfortable, pushes them over the threshold. They see a kind, gentle human being, and it can be really beneficial for horses of all ages, whether they've been in domestication, have never known a difficult hand such as Legend, or they were a Mustang roaming the plains such as Filio. So with that being said, I hope you guys all enjoyed this YouTube video. If you have not already, please hit the red subscribe button. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, our podcast available wherever you listen to podcasts. Stay strong, stay true, stay wild, and we'll see y'all next time.